I'm a massive daydreamer. Massive. I get very creative. I get lost very easily. It's not difficult at all. I guess I could, utilize that in a way if I'm feeling.
Yes, you can. But the thing about it is that what happens is you go from the emotional body to the reason, logic and reason in your mind. In other words, you get a feeling about a dynamic, you get a feeling about something, and you feel that you have to build structure around it, right? In your mind. In your mind, you begin to think about, well, let's see, I could do this and this could fit in that way. And in other words, what you're doing is you're taking the emotion, you're taking the feelings, and you're translating that to logic and reason. Okay, even in the midst of your daydreams, because that's where your daydreams go. Your daydreams start out with the dynamics of the feeling of that emotion, and it's that feeling and that emotion that you use in the power of anticipation. Because basically, what you're doing is you're stepping out of time and space in an emotional sort of way, and you're saying, to your higher self, you're saying to the universe, this is how I wish to feel. Now, the problem is that after that, you tend to get into, not you, but generally people will tend to get into a dynamic of yeah buts, or they'll get in, they'll say, well, I can do this, or I can't do that, or they will begin to build scenarios around how to get physically from here, from the dream to the reality. Okay? It's the movement from the dream to the reality that puts restrictions on the dynamic of emotion, because emotion will act as an electromagnetic attractor. And so if you can just put the emotion out there without any limitations of thought, without any limitations of belief, then you give the universe the best possible, the widest possible field to have you create that, have you have that situation where you have drawn that feeling of success, that feeling of love, that feeling of anything you would wish to create back to you. But again, it's that whole dynamic of putting out the emotion and letting it go.
So basically, you want to feel without any restrictions, without,
Sure, because it's your subconscious that holds the structure.
Yeah, and that feeling goes along with the law of attraction, because you have to be put in that vibration.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. So this sidesteps that whole dynamic of belief, because you don't have to know how you're going to get there.
I know, but that's like my subconscious mind fighting me, where I gotta like let go and let be and stop wondering like how, when, where, why, and who, all that shit. And that's the difficult part, but I'm working through that. But basically, giving me permission to daydream. It's okay, because I was gonna come in here and be like, "Am I doing it too much?"
Well, it's only too much when it's interfering with your reality. Certainly, you can get obsessive about things. You know that.
Workday. It gets me through my very long shifts.
Yes, we understand. So you do what you do what works in that sort of way. But the daydreams. They sometimes they're the best part of life.
Yeah, they need to be the life, though.
Yeah, but you don't. Again, you're using that dynamic. Is if you don't build scenarios, if you don't build castles, all you're left with is the possibilities. It doesn't have to be.
Can you say that again differently?
Help us out.
If you're building castles, you're already putting structure on it.
That's right.
You're already putting
You
beliefs
don't
of
need to
what it
put
should look,
structure on it.
what it's going to look like, or how you're going to not get there from here.
Well, that's often what happens is you go to the negative. You say, oh, I don't have enough money. Oh, I don't have enough education. Oh, I'm not good enough. Well, and isn't that your whole thing, dear one? You know, if you start, if you take the mantra that I am good enough and you repeat that at least 6 times a day, you'll start to believe it.
Yeah.
You don't need to be anyone more than who you actually are. None of you do. You're good enough just the way you are. Now, that's not to say there aren't things in your life you might wish to improve. But again, you have the mastery over the dynamic. It can be your choice. You don't have to be run by your subconscious. You don't have to be run by your old beliefs, your old judgments. Now, sure, give yourself the grace to understand that your patterns, your habits have been set up until a certain point, but it's at any point in your life that you can say, well, you know, I've had enough. I'd like to take a different direction. And so you start taking different directions by not making a 90-degree or 180-degree turn. You do it incrementally, step by step, piece by piece. You do those things that you can begin to do, and you stop criticizing yourselves so much. You know, to think that you should be doing more, you should be doing better. Who are you competing against? Are you competing against yourselves? Are you competing against some idea of who you think you should be? Or are you actually in a place of where you are being? And that is that whole dynamic of the moment. But in order to be, you must give up the fear, mustn't you? Barry, she's having a good time tonight. Well, we had nothing to say tonight. All right, so thank you, Shell. It's a good opportunity to look at that dynamic of energy and to understand because nobody teaches you. Nobody teaches you, and imagination, you know, that's such a huge source of creation, and yet so much in your imaginations has been stifled, even either stifled through your life circumstances, through the dynamics of the templates that you have been taught. Well, there's any number of dynamics, but it's mostly been negative in the reflections of your world and your consensus reality. Why? Well, the consensus, the negative seems to motivate you much more quickly than the positive does. But we would like to suggest to you that moving in these places where you're beginning to give up some of the restrictions, where you're beginning to give up a number of the old beliefs that keep you locked into old ways of being that are, you know, what shall we say, dripping in lack, dripping in not enough, dripping in the whole dynamic of guilt and shame and pain, and none of that is real. If you could see the beauty of yourselves, of your divine nature, if you could understand the dynamics of reality, and maybe not understand everything, but understand that you are right now, in the moment that you are right now, is a part of a continuation of soul that you, the consciousness of you, may not be aware of in the moment, but it's your heritage, is your spiritual heritage, is your divine nature, is the thing that makes you all equal.